Call came in. Many have returned since that Sunday, but when this was burning on Sunday, some thought the fire was going to die down, and then it sparked back up.
Around 5 o'clock, we saw finally one coming really close, and it looked like they really knocked the fire down, and we were starting to breathe a little easier, and then suddenly the fire came back with a vengeance. And then half an hour later, another police car coming over and told us you have 20 minutes to evacuate. The house at the end of the street is totally engulfed.
Really scary for many of these residents. Now you can see some of the firefighters working across the way, still working on those hot spots. And you can also see how homeowners here have created defensible spaces around their homes by cutting back the brush. Some of these neighbors tell us they're quite upset with the city, saying they've been calling repeatedly for the city to get the brush cleared on the hillside.
How y'all doing? This is an Oreo cream pie that I made. Homemade Oreo cream pie. Oh my God. You can't see its full potential no more because I sprinkled it with graham cracker crumbs. Oh my God. This pie is so delicious. God dang it. I'm from Mississippi. Keep my hands up. You good?
Go ahead. I'm looking for my keys. I ain't gonna sit down. What you got in the box? What you got in the box? What you got in the
Oh shit. Another day, another dollar.
ball that was right there? You rolled it?
So what?
Where that ball that was right there? You rolled it?
What ball?
The weed.
No, I put it in my pocket. Ain't nobody steal it.
Yeah, weed.
Yeah, ain't nothing contaminated. What's up, Damon? Peace Johnson.
my kids.
I don't know. You had your car. You the last person to go.
Your kids go out there, they
No. When you leave. I ain't been in your car. Another day. Touch the handle and go down the left. I had that car back here like that.
What's wrong with your mother? She can't remember to pull the door. What's wrong with her? Why you looking out here? They're gonna get stabbed in the teeth.
10 minutes. Hang them up on the rack for me. Stack them. I mean, put them on the inventory for me.
Yeah. Keep them so much, I don't even remember when I got them.
Boy, damn. Yeah. He driving a hard bargain.
What you don't do this?
He already know. That's why we got one.
And they not.
Just hang them up. Do the quick for we ain't got nothing up there. And I let them. I'm just the one until they go for $1. But eventually we're gonna lose some more, and I'm just gonna. There's nothing I can do right now. I give motherfuckers. No. But I still make $21. I give $4. No. She went to the bathroom. She in the bathroom. She in the bathroom. She in the bathroom. She's doing something. Doing something. No! What you doing? She almost done? I knew it. She rushing. Tell her. She on the way. She finna come. Trying to rush her. He good. You look like you can do a little something. Thank you, brother. Man, you know what? I really had no intentions when I went live I live in your closet, I'll pay rent. You know, renting California is very expensive. I really be trying to explain that to people. Some people think they can just afford to live in California, but you really got to have a occupational career to be able to survive and live in California and live abundantly. Like anybody can come out here and survive and live check to check, bill to bill. But to really live in California, that means you got to have hustling you to make over $10,000 a month. And you got to be able to do that consistently. If you don't, you won't be able to live out here and be able to enjoy yourself and enjoy the amenities that California have to offer, because you won't be able to afford it. Just simple. It's that simple. It don't take a rocket scientist or a mathematician to do the math and say you won't be able to afford to live here. But if you got any mad hustle about yourself and never give up, I promise you, like, you can get out here and make it. It ain't hard. It ain't hard. I done did it. I turned nothing into something, and I ain't never had nothing. I still ain't got nothing now, but at the same time, I got something. So I ain't mad at people who want to talk shit and ain't got shit. Them the ones that talk the most shit. The ones that ain't got shit. That's why they talking shit, because they ain't got shit. How y'all doing? Nice. Thanks for the words of wisdom.
Virginia senator from California became the first Black American.
But
and first South Asian
I can rent you a space. I got a space. I got room for rent. I ain't say rooms with an S, but I got room. I got a little pallet on my floor in my living room. I can rent you out for about $700 a month. It come with an air mattress, and you got access to go to the bathroom. It's gonna be right by the front door. So when you get up in the morning, stand that mattress up and go right out the door, go in the bathroom. Yeah, I got a place. I got it. I can rent some room out to some people, you know, but not a room.
First-time drug offenders a chance to earn a high school degree. And supported issues like gay rights.
Man, what's a high school degree? Can anybody tell me what's a high school degree? I didn't know you can get a degree in high school. So Pamela Harris wrote a bill that you can get a high school degree in prison. A high school degree, and that's a bill. That's something she's proud of. Like, what the fuck is a high school degree? What can you still get a high school degree? Is it equivalent to anything, or is it substantial to be able to go out and get a career or something? Man, that's how we know Kamala Harris ain't finna win. She do not have what it takes. She do not have what it takes to be the president of the United States. And she done locked more niggas up. Ain't no nigga finna vote for her. Man, I know 12 families she done destroyed, threw them fathers away in prison for life for some drugs back in the days. Kamala Harris will never be our president. Not as long as two conservative white men is running. No, not in America. They would never let a nigga female run this presidency, be in that office. They let a black nigga from Africa come in and be a president, but they wasn't an American nigga that was raised from the dirt in America. Like, nah.
Do you agree today that you will run to oppose busing in America? Her run for the White House ended in late 2019, and she threw her support behind her future boss.
We did it, Joe. You're gonna be the next president of the United States.
Throughout her time in D.C., the Biden-Harris White
We
House
did it, you did it, Joe.
New jobs in the U.S. And
She the one that threw all of Joe Biden's skeletons out on the damn in the middle of the road during the debate when she was trying to be president. He is a part of all the racism in America that still exists and still will always exist as long as they asses in office, as long as them old motherfuckers are still living, as long as their ideology is alive, then we will always be slaves and just do-boy niggas in their eyes. Why would he go pick the worst black candidate that talked about him the most in the debate and make her his vice president. She ain't did nothing as a vice president. She ain't went overseas and signed no peace treaties. She ain't went overseas and represented the United States in none of the war matters. So how we gonna allow a woman to take over a country that is funding two separate wars right now? Because we funding two separate wars. We not in two separate wars. We funding two separate wars. She gonna continue to fund those wars. Ain't gonna give nothing to the American people. The American society and economy is flipped upside down. Oh my God. Do anybody know what I'm talking about right now? No, y'all don't know what I'm talking about. I know why y'all don't know it. Y'all ain't got no business. Y'all ain't about business. So this don't affect y'all. Y'all don't understand how politics affect people like me that own businesses and stuff. So show me love. Give me some. That's all we need.
He was shot to death on March 20th when police say gangs opened fire on a group of rivals near Eagle and Locust Streets. Police say a raid just 4 days ago across Long Beach, Huntington Beach, Lakewood, and LA gave them the evidence needed to make the arrest.
I believe these arrests demonstrate that our department will never stop working with and for this community. And to those willing to commit acts of gun violence, whether as an isolated incident or in a furtherance of gang activity, I can assure you, we have some of the brightest crime analysts, hardworking police officers, and most skilled detectives in the country.
Police say 23-year-old Raylon Akers of LA and 19-year-old Rahman Abdallah of Long Beach have been arrested on murder charges and are being held on $2 million bail. A third man, 22-year-old James Havlicek Jr. of Lakewood, is being held on suspicion of accessory to murder with bail set at $1 million.
Local leaders joining community advocates outside the courthouse in downtown LA to call for justice in the case against Atlas Metals.
Atlas Metals lawsuit.
The case has not been resolved. The owners of the metal recycling facility have been charged with illegally dumping hazardous waste next to and right onto the campus.
Jordan High School.
They pleaded not guilty.
In what?
Community advocates are calling on the company to clean up the property around the school, cease operations, and forfeit the property to the community as well as compensation for those affected.
Hey, y'all want these people to shut their business down, pay a fine, and give up their business and land as forfeit. Like, y'all asking for way too much. We'll pay the fine, but we ain't mending the shit. And we ain't shutting down.
A hearing in the case was scheduled for today, but has been delayed because of computer problems at the court.
3 graffiti-covered skyscrapers in downtown LA could soon have a new owner. The Wall Street Journal is reporting an unidentified local developer is in talks to acquire the property. The buildings are owned by China-based developer Oceanwide Holdings. They abandoned that project after running into financial difficulties. Reps for Oceanwide say the developer will probably pay around $500 million to take over the property. They will then have to spend an estimated $800 million to finish the project.
We can clap for this. A good start to the week on Wall Street. The Dow Jones finishing up 127 points, ending at 40,415. Even better for the NASDAQ and the S&P, both up more than 1% today. All right, time for us to talk to David Lazarus, Consumer Confidential time.
Yeah, David's back. Stocks are up.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, today, clearly we saw traders resuming their love affair with high-priced tech stocks and, interestingly, shrugging off all of the political turbulence that's out there. One would have thought that all that uncertainty in the political sphere would have been reflected in Wall Street, but that was not the case. And that's good because, God knows, there's enough other things for Wall Street to be turbulent over. It's nice that they were able to look past this one thing. Last week, the storyline was money moving out of tech and into small-cap stocks. Today, yeah, forget about that. Let's get back into tech. We saw Nvidia, Meta, Alphabet, among other big-name tech stocks, all posting gains today. One of the ones going the other direction, though, CrowdStrike, the cybersecurity firm at the center of that huge tech outage. Its shares were down another 13% today. Very interesting storyline here. Shares of El Segundo-based Mattel popped 15% today after reports that a buyout firm had put an acquisition offer on the table. No other details about that are currently available, but still, if Mattel is in play, especially after Barbie, all right, we'll see where that's going to take us at this point. Also, this week we got earnings season going on again. This week we'll be seeing quarterly reports from the likes of Tesla, Alphabet, and Chipotle. On Thursday, we'll get the latest numbers for economic growth. On Friday, we'll get the latest stats on inflation.
The political climate has been so uncertain, and usually the markets don't want that, so it's good to see this.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, customers coming back to McDonald's.
Yeah, not a huge surprise because McDonald's specifically offered its $5 value meal to get people back in the door. Higher prices at both McDonald's and other chains, due in large part to rising commodity and labor costs, have deterred many people from going out for fast food. It's roughly priced around the same level as fast casual these days, so a lot of families think, well, why don't we just sit down at a booth rather than just doing takeout from McD's if it's going to cost about the same. So the $5 value meal came out in June.
How y'all doing? Come on in. Show me some love.
By CNBC, McDonald's is now going to stretch that.
Hey, Incognito, you back, baby? How you doing?
And the reason, according to that memo, is traffic is way up at McDonald's restaurants as a result of the value meal, which is, okay, that's good for McDonald's, but that is a shot across the bow of the entire fast food industry, because what it says, and it says it clearly, is that at that sector of the retail and restaurant industry, prices matter most. And you just don't have a lot of room to raise prices. And what this whole episode says is, as long as you're offering reasonable prices at a fast food restaurant, you will get customers. Once you leave a certain threshold in that regard, forget it. They stop coming. I think all of the chains out there very close attention.
Back at 4 now, too.
Yeah, back at 4, we'll take a deep dive into
All right, still ahead, the countdown is on to the start of the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. The basketball star is going to be bearing the Team USA flag at the opening ceremony. Plus, Rich DeMuro.
Text up your phone for an overseas trip. Stay connected, avoid roaming charges, and get around like a local. I'm Rich DeMuro. That's coming up in Rich on Town.
I need yours again. Got a new phone. Pizza. Cool Peaks. Where's the shop at? I need a cut. We in Cali, man. Just chilling. How y'all doing? As we start to, get more people in, we can start talking about the conversation a little bit better. Thank you for the likes.
$1,000 a month. Well, I didn't make this kind of money selling yoga mats and toasters, and I damn sure wasn't talking to my friends into buying vitamins.
New at 5. Beyonce's mom is said to be an owner of a beach house in Galveston. That's really cool. Here's what's not. Neighbors say it's now a nuisance. Well, why is that? Fox 26's Don McKee joining us live in Galveston to tell us.
Yeah, Rashi, you may not be able to tell from here because take a look at it. It's an absolutely beautiful home. And the Galveston County Appraisal District lists Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles, as an owner of this beach house. Market value $1.4 million, but it was hit hard by Hurricane Ike nearly 16 years ago. Since then, the storm-ravaged residence went from beachfront to being located smack dab on the beach, and I'm told it's been patched up, but Pirates Beach residents and the city of Galveston say the house is continuing to deteriorate.
If you look, this is the front row, second row, and we're third row over here. And so all the front row houses that were originally put in the development are all gone except for this one.
The home has been an issue for a long time. I mean, it's been in disrepair since Hurricane Ike. The city is moving forward with a demolition order.
On the other side, there's actually pilings that you can actually see through. The slab has fallen. It's fallen worse just from last week's storm. And
I mean, obviously, it's a little bit of an eyesore, or maybe, depending upon your perspective, a lot of an eyesore.
So it is a public safety and health issue. And we're afraid that it just may fall into the sea.
Normally, the tide comes up high enough to where the bottom of the house is covered.
On high tide, we would be standing in the water.
In the water right now.
Do you fear that your home will someday be in the same shape?
Yes, but we've been here since '83, and we've been blessed to be here.
What can homeowners do once their beachfront property is actually in the water?
So if it's a state of emergency, such as with Hurricane Ike, in this particular case, they were actually offered a buyout.
How much was the buyout?
The buyout, I believe, was somewhere around $450,000, and they chose not to take it.
So before this has lingered and dragged on this long, did the residents think it was kind of cool to have Beyonce's mom as a neighbor?
Of course, yes. I mean, who wouldn't? Beyonce, I mean, come on.
Apparently, this post from Miss Tina Knowles on Twitter a few years back was of better times, showing off the beautiful view. And recently,
did you see that when Charles Barkley said Galveston is horrible, did you think Tina?
Yeah, I saw Tina's response, and we left her for that response because we left Galveston.
Considering it's 2024 and Hurricane Ike was in 2008, I'd say we've given them more than ample time to respond.
The Councilmember Rob says Knowles is still being offered $150,000 to move the property if she chooses to do so, but she does have a limited time to make that happen because the demolition order could be in place in as little as 60 days. Now, Tina Knowles, is from Galveston Island. I spoke with a publicist for her yesterday and today, and she says Tina Knowles may be traveling because she hasn't been able to reach her yet for comment. Reporting live in Galveston, I'm Donnelly Keith, Fox 26 News.
I'm going to show you how you can become a published author in the next 90 days, even if you've never written a book. So, if your dream is to write a book, like 81% of the population, pay close attention because this system has enabled me not only to write multiple books myself, not one, not two, but 7 best-selling books, including my most recent book published. But this is also the system that I
thank you for joining us. I'm Heather Myers. Here at CBS 8, we are working for you and getting to the bottom of problems you've asked about, and we're looking for solutions. We begin with San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria and his proposed 1,000-person homeless shelter. A new report is questioning if the mega shelter is in the best interest of San Diego's taxpayers. The city's independent budget analyst has released its analysis of this proposed shelter at Kettner and Vine right near the San Diego airport. It found flaws in the appraisal process as well as issues with how much the city would be paying for it. CBS 8's Richard Allen has more on this report and reaction from the mayor.
This new report by the city's independent budget analyst comes less than a week before City Council is set to vote on this proposal, whether to transform this property here at Kettner and Vine into a 1,000-person mega shelter.
That we felt like we're finally being heard.
The 18-page report finds the price the city would pay to lease this 65,000 square foot warehouse on Kettner and Vine is above market rate, a discrepancy that would be magnified over the life of the 30-year lease with a 3.5% annual rent hike. Patty Ducey Brooks is part of Mission Hills Cares, which opposes this proposal.
And it was refreshing to know that finally the city realizes through this department that this is way too expensive, because once we get into this lease, we're going to be paying more every year.
The report also estimates that yearly management costs would run more than $30 million, with no specific funding sources identified. It also raises environmental safety concerns and finds that this 1,000-person shelter goes against the city's own plan for addressing homelessness by not adding resources for prevention and affordable housing.
It's a bad deal. It's a bad deal.
Dan Mullen is also with Mission Hills Cares. He says the city has not been forthcoming with how this mega shelter would be operated.
Can you imagine, in this building, 1,000 people stuffed into that? Would we do that to anyone? It would be like a jail.
Mayor Todd Gloria has spoken out on the vital need for this project.
This is critical to our ability to continue to get people off the streets. Right now, when we have people living in encampments, what we know for sure is it is unhealthy and unsafe.
In a statement responding to this report by the independent.
Here's a really easy side hustle I guarantee you didn't even know about. 99% of people don't know this, but in 2024, the best way to earn extra income on Amazon is...
Trump is a street fighter.
Donald Trump learned a crucial lesson as a child.
Do whatever you have to do. You say whatever you have to say. Winning is everything.
Donald Trump is a major deal maker, and he has made his money mainly from Manhattan real estate.
Trump, 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 Trump. His name is his power.
We realized what Americans really loved was celebrity. If you were a celebrity, everything was possible.
You're fired.
You're fired.
You're fired.
And if people mocked him,
Donald Trump is here tonight. He certainly would bring some change to the White House.
he should fight back.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
Here comes the war of the Trumps.
It was war, and they were determined to win it. You don't know what he's going to do next. You don't know what's going to happen to him next.
This isn't another video about Donald Trump's time as president. There are hundreds of those.
Over the years, I've surprised a lot of people. The biggest surprise is yet to come.
This is the story of how Donald became Trump. Of all the men who influenced Donald Trump, none have had a bigger influence than his father. Fred Trump was born in the Bronx to German immigrants Frederick and Elizabeth. After he finished high school, he took a job as a carpenter's assistant. He liked the work, but he wanted to be the boss. So when he turned 21, Fred incorporated a company, E. Trump and Son, named for his mother, who started the company before Fred was old enough to run it. During the Depression, Fred almost went out of business, but before he did, he got his big break. Fred built one of New York City's first modern self-serve supermarkets and sold it for a profit. He and his business partner used the profits to buy a subsidiary of a bankrupt real estate company for pennies on the dollar. That subsidiary gave them easy access to a bunch of properties that were nearing foreclosure. Fred bought them low, sold them high, and made enough money to turn E. Trump and Son into one of New York's biggest real estate companies. He passed his success on to his children. Donald and his siblings grew up in a house that had 23 rooms, and the family chauffeur drove them to school every morning. Fred also passed on his ruthless streak. Throughout Donald's childhood, his father always gave him the same advice: work hard, don't be weak, be a killer. Donald took it to heart. He He bullied his classmates. He even bullied his younger brother. One day, he threw an eraser at his teacher. Fred immediately took action and sent Donald to a military boarding school upstate. It was a tough, competitive environment, but surprisingly for a rich kid, Donald thrived. He excelled at several sports and was named captain his senior year. In the yearbook, he was named Ladies' Man. Years later, Donald would credit his time at boarding school with teaching him the discipline he needed to succeed in business and politics. But he knew that discipline by itself wasn't enough. So he went to college, 2 years at Fordham University before a transfer to the University of Pennsylvania's Business School. After graduating in 1968, Donald Trump joined his father's company. The first few years weren't glamorous. Donald and Fred had to roll up their sleeves and turn around some housing projects which were losing money. For Donald, it was an early lesson. Just because he'd been given lots of advantages, he still needed to work for his success. After a 3-year apprenticeship, Donald became president of the company. The torch had been passed from father to son. One of his first moves was to rebrand. E. Trump & Sons sounded stale and old-fashioned. A modern real estate business led by a dynamic young entrepreneur needed a glamorous name, so Trump rebranded it to the Trump Organization. It was an early step in the evolution from Donald to Trump. Trump moved into an Upper East Side apartment and started going to some of Manhattan's elite nightclubs, usually with a beautiful woman on his arm. It didn't look like it to most people, but Trump was working. He was marketing his most important commodity, himself. It was right around this time that he made his debut in another high-profile local institution, the New York Times. The Times embodied the elite establishment that, decades later, Trump would build a political career upon opposing. But in the early 1970s, he was anxious for their attention and approval. The first time the New York Times mentioned Donald Trump, it wasn't for a good reason. The headline said it all. Major landlord accused of anti-black bias in city. The story concerned a Department of Justice lawsuit filed against Donald Trump and his father, which alleged that the Trump Organization discriminated against African Americans. Even for someone who believed all publicity was good publicity, it was tough reading. Most of the lawyers Trump talked to urged him to settle, but that just wasn't who he was. Trump met Roy Cohn at a swanky Manhattan nightclub in the early 1970s. Trump was complaining to anyone who'd listen that he couldn't find a lawyer who believed he could win the discrimination lawsuit. Cohn offered his services. He filed a $100 million countersuit against the Department of Justice. Although it was unsuccessful, the final settlement ultimately allowed the Trump Organization to get away without admitting any wrongdoing. It was a win for Trump, and a lesson he'd carry with him for the rest of his life. Never admit your mistakes. Roy Cohn was Donald Trump's lawyer for 15 years.
This is a picture that Donald had made in which he says, Roy is my greatest friend.
Trump soon set his sights on something that could make his career. The old Penn Central Railroad had gone broke a few years earlier and left behind 3 prime real estate assets, the Commodore Hotel and 2 rail yards on New York's west side. The rail yards were the largest undeveloped tracts of land left in Manhattan. If Trump could get his hands on those assets, he'd prove to everyone, including his father, that he could succeed as a developer in his own right. He knew that if he played his cards right, he had a chance. He wined and dined the development agency's lead official. He held press conferences where he outlined his vision for the site. And thanks to his father's political connections, he met face-to-face with the mayor. After pulling strings for weeks, Trump got what he wanted, the right to develop the sites. Trump turned the Commodore into the Grand Hyatt.
The Grand Hyatt held its grand opening today.
Probably the most successful hotel, one of them in the country, we feel.
He knew that just winning the development rights wasn't enough. It wasn't going to silence his critics, who said he was only in that position because of his father's money and connections. And it wasn't enough to satisfy his own ambitions. If he truly wanted to be the king of New York real estate, he had to build. And not just anything, something big. So Trump swung for the fences. He promised to build 20,000 apartments on the site, more than his father had built in his entire career.
All along from 72nd all the way down to 59th, we're going to have magnificent marinas, shopping, restaurants, everything, all over the Hudson River.
The local community hated the idea. They thought the proposal just didn't fit with the character of the neighborhood, and they were politically influential enough to block the development. Trump raged. But there wasn't much he could do. Full-scale attack wouldn't work. The situation required deft diplomacy that Trump just didn't have in his toolkit. So when the option came up in 1979, he had no choice but to let it lapse. It was the biggest and most bitter disappointment of his career to date. But in Trump's mind, defeat was only ever temporary. So he made a vow that next time he wouldn't let it slip out of his grasp. In the meantime, he had other things occupying his mind. Ivana Marie Zelnikova was a tall, striking blonde with an exotic backstory. A competitive skier and child actor, she married a childhood friend so she could use his Austrian citizenship to escape the Eastern Bloc. After they divorced, she moved to Canada, where she met Trump. A few months after they started dating, they got married at a church on Fifth Avenue on April 9, 1977. Their first son, Don Jr., was born about 9 months later. Fifth Avenue wasn't just home to the church where Donald Trump got married. He also wanted it to be the new headquarters of the Trump Organization. Trump had dreamed of building a tower on Fifth Avenue since he was a kid. To him, it represented the peak of glamour and power. The site he wanted was occupied by a luxury department store. In order to press his case, he kept calling the parent company asking if they were interested in selling the site. They thought he was joking, but he was serious, and he wasn't going to give up. Finally, after a couple years, the parent company's new chairman, who was looking to pay down some debts, said yes.
Bonwitz is being sold to Donald Trump.
Trump secured the site, but that was only half the battle. He still had to persuade the approval committee, which was made up of the same sorts of people who blocked his plans for the rail yards just a couple of years earlier. Trump needed a different approach. So this time, instead of aggression, he pointed to the fact that reputable architects liked his plan design. Not everyone was persuaded. The media class hated it. The construction of Trump Tower marked another big step in the journey from Donald to Trump.
This is the greatest skyline in the world. So this is a great addition to New York skyline. And the completion of the tallest concrete building.
It marked the beginning of what would prove to be a highly successful decade.
Hello, welcome to the 80s.
Ronald Reagan, the next president of the United States.
Introducing the Macintosh.
We have a new formula for COVID.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I thought take these for Charles Barkley.
The murder of John Lennon, one of the most influential people of this time.
Whoever John cared down this wall.
The 1980s were tailor-made for Donald Trump. Greed was good, and Ronald Reagan proved you didn't need to be a career politician to become president. Only in the 1980s could Trump go from being a real estate developer to a national celebrity who bridged the worlds of finance, entertainment, and politics.
Well, there's a lot of coverage in that.
The newspapers and magazines which had made fun of him were forced to cover his rise. He became a frequent guest on talk shows, whose hosts liked his charisma and his willingness to talk about all sorts of topics. Opening a casino added to Trump's opulent glamour. To many Americans, Trump, who had a tower with his name on it and a glamorous European life, embodied the 1980s hyper-capitalist version of the American dream.
You walk down the street sometimes, the people will touch you just for the good luck.
It's a strange phenomenon that's taking place.
But even though he had almost everything anyone could ever want, there was still one thing Trump wanted, but didn't have: the West Side Rail Yard.
Were you born between 1969 and 1979? If so, you can get a Milwaukee combo kit completely free. And I can tell you right now, this is going to upset a ton of people because we're giving away these incredible Milwaukee combo kits completely free. Anyone who was born between 1969 and 1979. No need to enter credit card or pay anything. Just answer a few quick questions to get a free gift to your doorstep. Visit the next page to get yours now before we run out. I mean, just take a look at these. Each kit has power tools worth over $1,000 in total that will help you do any work done at your home. And the quality of these is just incredible. So what are you waiting for? Get yours now before it's too late. Because the last time we did something like this, people snagged this deal so fast we ran out in less than a day, so don't wait any longer. Visit the next page and tell us where to send your Milwaukee combo kit now. Trust me, you won't be disappointed, just like the thousands of people before you who got theirs. Let's make these times exciting again, folks. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Doing good, man. Doing real
After
good.
Trump was forced to give up the option half a decade earlier, it had been taken over by a friend of his father's, a man named Hirschfield. Although the redevelopment plan was approved, Hirschfield couldn't finance the project. It was partly because he had made too many concessions to the local government, but mainly it was because Donald Trump was working hard behind the scenes to make sure he got the money he needed. When Hirschfield eventually walked away in frustration, Trump bought the development rights and a second chance to move out of his father's shadow once and for all. The week before Thanksgiving in 1985, he announced his plans. The site would house nearly 8,000 apartments and condos, and about 600 football fields worth of TV and movie studio space. Trump wanted to call it Television City.
Donald Trump would like NBC to move to the site on the west side of Manhattan. Why is it so important that NBC stay in New York?
Thousands of jobs, hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, and perhaps almost as importantly, and maybe more importantly, NBC has a name and image and prestige that you really just don't get with another company.
Once again, the local community stood in his way, but Trump soon realized that his most formidable opponent wouldn't be local residents. It was the mayor. Ed Koch was Trump's mirror image. Each man wanted the same thing. They wanted New York City to be the greatest city in the world, and they wanted to be the main character. But they went about it in very different ways. Koch was a Democrat who described himself as a liberal with sanity. He despised the way Trump constantly tried to strong-arm the state by giving him tax breaks while turning the city into a playground for the ultra-rich. But he was growing increasingly dependent on the tax revenues that Trump and other rich developers brought in. Trump, meanwhile, hated anyone who stood in his way.
I hope that New York City gets a different mayor at some point, because I think that Koch is a total disaster. He's really worked right now for the city.
The two men had already fought a long battle over the tax status of Trump Tower. Television City was the next battlefront.
How have you the chutzpah to say that this government has been anti-development? That's an outrageous comment on your part, and I can prove that you're wrong.
Koch refused to give Trump the tax breaks he wanted.
I would say he's got no talent and only moderate intelligence. If I've done anything, I've got NBC focused on by the city of New York, and I think that's very important. I think it's vital.
Trump again found himself in the uncomfortable position of being powerless. He couldn't overcome the combined resistance of Ed Koch and the community activists. The dream of Television City was dead. The rail yard site remained frustratingly out of reach, at least for now. Trump turned his frustration into speculation. He bought a fleet of planes from a bankrupt airline and started his own airline, Trump Show.
I never thought I'd be doing this, I have to tell you. So just everybody have a good time, and for many years enjoy the Trump Show.
He plowed money into expanding his casinos in Atlantic City. But in hindsight, the most important thing he did was release a book. The Art of the Deal was about Trump's life, career, and business strategy. It was a big success, and it was his gateway to what would become his future career.
If you lost your fortune today, what would you do tomorrow?
Maybe I'll run for president.
30 years before he ran for president, Donald Trump is talking about the same issues.
The United States is systematically being ripped off by many of the wealthiest countries of the world.
The fact is that the world is ripping off this country. Germany is ripping us off bigly. Saudi Arabia is ripping us off bigly.
Everybody's taking advantage of the United States. We're defending Japan and the Japanese folks, who I respect greatly, but they're not treating us fairly.
Trump didn't just talk about politics on TV. He spent nearly $100,000 on a full-page ad where he criticized U.S. foreign policy.
I find those ads ridiculous. He spent $100,000 for self-advertisements. Who's really interested in his foreign policy? Anybody? Maybe Mrs. Trump.
Trump's politics were shaped by his fear of weakness and by the zero-sum environment of Manhattan real estate.
We're going to have a war through weakness because this country is acting so weak toward Iran. It's pathetic.
In real estate, at least the kind of real estate that excited Trump, there was no such thing as a permanent ally or a win-win situation. Everything was temporary and transactional. Foreign affairs worked differently. After the success of the Art of the Deal and the positive reaction from some quarters to his political statements, Trump realized the public wanted to hear what he had to say, even about issues outside his wheelhouse.
You have said that if you ran for president, you'd win.
I think I have a very good chance. I mean, I like to win. When I do something, I like to win. I like to do well, and I think I probably would have a very good chance.
Trump enjoyed moonlighting as a political commentator, but events would soon drag him back to his core business.
The
pair of court journalists were sent a leaked copy of a financial disclosure statement that Trump had to file with New Jersey's Casino Control Commission. The report revealed something which no amount of bluffing could hide. Donald Trump was drowning in debt. He fought hard to keep the story from being published, but it went to print with just one last-minute edit. His net worth was bumped up from 0 to 500 million. By now, being seen as rich and successful was an important part of Trump's business strategy. So the accusation that he wasn't actually as rich as he claimed to be was a big blow, especially when it was made by a media that was itching to bring him down a bit.
There's no reason to expose yourself to millions of people. There's no...
Why do you do it?
One thing.
Listening.
Oh, I hate you.
Oh, come on, get out of here.
I'm telling you, I hate you.
Oh, please.
The revelation that Trump and his businesses were struggling financially marked the end of peak Trump and the beginning of the hardest period of his entire career. If the 1980s were the boom, then the 1990s were the crash. So what happened? It was a combination of both the micro and the macro. The micro was, well, that he was Donald Trump. He didn't pursue what you'd call a disciplined personal investment strategy. Instead, he leveraged against what was becoming his biggest asset, his personal brand. But brands can lose their appeal. The macro was slightly more complicated. When Trump began his career, New York City was experiencing a major economic and social crisis. He took advantage of historically low property prices and, frankly, a government that was desperate for extra revenue. When the economy rebounded, his fortune grew rapidly. His entry into the casino business followed a similar pattern. He got in soon after New Jersey legitimized casino gambling. Most of Trump's acquisitions were funded by debt, and that wasn't necessarily a problem, so long as the economy stayed strong. But that's not what happened. Right at the beginning of the 1990s, the U.S. economy slipped into recession. Trump's businesses were all dependent on high levels of consumer spending. When the economy slowed down, they stopped spending money, and Trump started hemorrhaging cash. At one point, Trump was more than $3 billion in debt. In exchange for an emergency loan that kept the Trump organization afloat, Trump had to sell his yacht, airline, and part of the Grand Hyatt, one of his first ever real estate projects. His 3 casinos declared bankruptcy. He was even put on an allowance. Trump's high-profile problems weren't limited to his career either. His marriage was collapsing. Trump had started an affair with an aspiring actress, Marlon Maples. The affair was splashed across tabloid headlines, in full view of the public, Ivana, and the couple's 3 children, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka.
Best sex I've ever had. This is the best one. Ivana better deal.
When they divorced in 1991, Ivana got $14 million, the 45-room Connecticut mansion, and an apartment in Trump Plaza. Trump's critics greeted his downfall with schadenfreude. To them, his problems proved that the image he portrayed of being a self-made man who won by taking bigger risks than anyone else was fake. Instead, he only got to where he was because he received the sort of help other people didn't have access to. Generous tax breaks from the government and millions of dollars worth of gifts and low-interest loans from his father. Trump took big risks because he knew he had a safety net. And it was those risky, high-profile investments that had created the Trump legend. Just when it looked like Trump had hit rock bottom, he was forced to finally admit defeat on the project he'd been chasing for years, the West Side Rail Yards. The community activists he fought for so long drew strength from Trump's struggles. They developed their own plans for the 76-acre lot. Once he'd accepted the proposal brought by the local activists, all the political opposition he'd been facing suddenly melted away. He eventually sold the development rights to a consortium of businessmen from Hong Kong. It saved him from the ultimate indignity, filing for personal bankruptcy. And it marked the beginning of one of the most famous and controversial comebacks in history.
With Premier Protein Powders, you can mix up your Mondays, Sundays, post-runs, and just for fun. With 30 grams of protein and 1 gram of sugar, these powders can make every bowl feel deliciously within reach. Premier Protein, sweeten the journey.
Save up to 80% off Wayfair's Black Friday in July from July 26th through 29th.
Yes.
Let's just say your brand is dropping the year's hottest sneaker. Or you're an outdoor outfitter expanding your retail footprint. And fast. Or you're a global software platform for restaurants, helping with payments and offering financing to weather the unexpected. Now let's say you're doing all this with Adyen, financial technology that scales with the world's biggest businesses. Payments, data, and financial
Well, it's about that time, man. I'm just gonna relax for a minute. Talk to y'all later.